We appreciate the support. It's been 17 years now, and perhaps the question comes up because we've had some changes in membership and so on over the years, but we still have a core group of very strong participants, and now we have expressed interest from Australia and Canada coming in, also from the United Arab Emirates and from Israel. So things are looking very good for us, and I think the World Manufacturing Forum that Herbert mentioned is one of our strategic pillars, and the other is research. Okay, so I'm going to talk very briefly about IMS. I think the faces I see here in the audience, you pretty much know about what we're doing. So I'm just going to fly by some of these slides, and then I'll talk a little bit about some cooperation activities that are happening elsewhere, very briefly, talk a little bit about the projects, and then some of our upcoming workshops. So what we are is an international network for collaboration. We're a bit, I guess, of a brokerage kind of organization. We have nodes in Europe, United States, and Mexico at the moment. And we have relationships elsewhere as well for finding partners for projects. Our services are paid for, supported by the governments that support IMS. So it's a free service for you to come and use. So we've been around over 17 years now, and we've done quite a few projects, I think over 60 at this point. And we have a network that has really worked over time, and this is why the Commission still believes in IMS. So there are a lot of reasons why you should collaborate. I think probably most of you here have collaborated one way or another. IMS just adds that additional dimension where we can reach across the ocean. So we have a number of ways we put projects together. We can link two projects together. They can be bottom-up or tops-down kind of projects. We do a lot of top-down kind of projects from the Commission side, but sometimes industry brings some requirements to us and asks if we can help work on it, and I'll show you an example of that later on. We have very streamlined requirements for doing a project. It's very quick. We just need 3 regions involved in the project. We're looking for something that's a little bit larger, million US or more, 2-year project. And of course it has to be about manufacturing. And for the submission, we just require a very simple MOA from the partners and a very simple explanation about what you're doing. We don't want to make this onerous. We know that you've already described your work packages and so on. We don't need for you to duplicate that for us. So currently these are our hired coaches. We also have David Romero, who is also the IMS Regional Secretariat working in Mexico. He is filling in this position temporarily down in Mexico as a coach. So here in the European Union, these are the people that are working in IMS. Of course, Mr. Van Boza is the head of delegation for the European Union, and we have Roberta Solana and Francisca Flamigni as our regional secretariats, and they do the boots on the ground kind of work. And then we have Tom Maservi. I'm certain some of you have met Tom at other events and so on, and then we have some communication support through Marta Bullock. So just to give you a few highlights from the EU support, give you a sense of the international dimension. The EU was just recently chair of the IMS organization, and So during their chairmanship, they launched the World Manufacturing Forum. We've had 2 iterations of that so far. And you also notice that in past calls, IMS has been mentioned in the calls for those that have some kind of international dimension. And of course, we've had a number of workshops. We also developed the idea of these IMS coaches to help facilitate project formation. So this is a brand new service that we launched under the European Commission. And I guess the question is what's going to happen for Horizon 2020? We don't know yet until this is published, but IMS hopes that for those projects with international dimension that IMS is mentioned as a source to do that. I want to tell you a little bit about the USA Strategic Initiative. Some people have been asking me about what's going on in the US. We have moved our office, our international coordinating office, to Washington, D.C. And so I have a little bit closer relationship to what's going on there for the good and for the bad at the moment. Maybe some of you have heard that President Obama is really focused on manufacturing, and he's really putting some money into it, $1 billion US to create these institutes of manufacturing excellence. And this is a big deal for us. And if you really look at what we're doing and who is involved with it, one of our IMS board members, Professor Tom Kerfis, was working in the Office for Scientific Policy for President Obama. And he took some of these ideas that Europe is doing and is doing so well and patterned a lot of these centers off of what you're doing here in Europe, and in some case like a Fraunhofer, and in some cases what the Commission is doing as far as trying to spur innovation. So they had this experimental one that started up for additive manufacturing, and to see how these things would run and how they would get supported. And basically, it's like a public-private partnership where there is public money, but they're also going out and going to industry and asking for money to help fund it. So they're getting this funding to make sure on the industry side that what they're doing at these centers is relevant to manufacturing. So the next 3 calls that are coming up are for digital manufacturing and design innovation, lightweight and modern metals manufacturing innovation, and clean energy manufacturing innovation. So these institutes are all going to have government support through various departments, such as Department of Defense, Department of Energy, Department of Commerce. And that's where the government funding will come from. And there is a place where you can go and see what the latest news is on this. It's manufacturing.gov. Unfortunately, when you go to that site today, because of the government shutdown in Washington, D.C., that message below is what you'll see. NIST is closed and its affiliated websites are not available. This shutdown has affected really a lot of things in Washington. It's a mess right now, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So I don't think I have enough time to go in detail on these. I do want to mention about the IMS running projects that we have. We have a pretty good portfolio that's running here. We have Your Goods, Suplite, Focam, Matex. These are consumer goods. They're lightweighting. They're working in additive manufacturing. So the portfolio, I think you'll see here, is fairly diversified. They're working in software development. They're working in energy efficiency. More. Keep going here. These are some information projects. We have about 6 of them. I have just 4 of them listed here. There's a couple others that I'm not allowed to show yet. I am going to talk about a couple of these in a little bit more detail. This is one that was in formation, and I just had the MOAs mailed to me yesterday. So I know that this one is now a full IMS project. And this one is interesting because different industries have come together to work on a common problem, and that's ceramic glass and cement. And they're working with a new microwave firing process in this project. So there's a common technology that fit a few industries. So we were able to help them find some partners, and you'll see some of those listed there from Mexico, from, of course, the European Union, and from Switzerland. Here's one that came to us from a bottom-up perspective. It's called Simple Tools Sell Steel. And the steel industry came to us in the United States and said, we have a problem with engineering large steel buildings, and that is they didn't really have a good predictive model how steel was going to behave in these large structures. They had something, but it was very cumbersome, and so architects didn't want to use steel, and they've been moving towards cement, and you see a lot of the large new buildings are made out of cement. So they felt they were losing ground, and they wanted to put together an international consortium to work on this issue. So they came to us, and it's being funded privately by the Steel Association in the US and the partners. Here's another one that was being led by Rockwell Collins. It's now been taken over by Honeywell, and this is for model-based manufacturing. And so what they're looking for here is to do a study on the model-based manufacturing and to standardize some verification criteria for design to cost and design for manufacturing issues. So costing is the main reason that they're working in this area. So here are some ideas, and I didn't put one up that we're just really working on right now and gathering information on. So here's some interest on the US side from supply chains, and this is from our project development coach going to meetings and finding organizations and people that are interested in talking about supply chain. So this is just in its initial stage, trying to gather some interest in areas where we might be able to bring a project forward from one of these institutions. And then from the Europe side, we try to match up then some people on the Europe side that might be interested in doing this, and then we look at putting up a project together. So here's one that Thomas Irvy is working on for energy efficient manufacturing. So he's been talking to these projects that you see here to try to move this to the next step. The other one that I wanted to tell you before I move on to the upcoming workshops was in additive manufacturing. We're getting a lot of interest from Australia. I mentioned earlier Australia is interested in IMS, and they said, what can you do for us in the area of additive manufacturing? Well, we have the FOCAM project going on, and speaking of workshops, FOCAM came out of a workshop that we held in Barcelona. We've been gathering information on additive and some names and institutes and so on, and we're going to try to coordinate some new research projects in the area of additive manufacturing. One of our board members, Jack Harris, who was formerly at Rockwell, and he's now running the Iowa Innovation Center. Well, at the Iowa Innovation Center, I don't know anyone here is plugged into additive manufacturing, but they just installed the largest additive manufacturing machine in the world at the Iowa Innovation Center. So, so we think we have a very good connection there for some good R&D projects. Okay, so we saw WMF 2011, we saw WMF 2012. Where's 2013? Well, it was planned for 22-23 October, and we had this really awful decision to make. We received some inside information about this pending government shutdown in Washington, D.C., which is where we had planned to hold this. And we were planning to hold it at the Ronald Reagan Center, which is a government-owned building. And furthermore, on our program, the entire program was going to be a policy discussion, and we had 3 high-level policy people coming to speak: Secretary of Commerce, the co-chair of the Senate Manufacturing Caucus, and the economic advisor to President Obama. And so we would have really lost our opening session, and then we had chair people that were managing sessions from NSF and NIST and DARPA. So with all of this, the whole thing was really threatened to be a disaster. So a couple weeks ago, we decided that we were going to take this advice. It was too high of a risk, and so the inside information that we got is correct. And the result in Washington, D.C. is, yes, it is a mess. And you'll see in the news now, even China is starting to cry for the United States to please get their act in order. But it's absolutely a disaster. By law, these people are not allowed to work. They're not even allowed to answer their phone or allowed to access their email. So when you go to these websites, these are the messages that you're getting on the websites. The websites are even closed. So it is really closed and closed. So in retrospect, you know, it was a very painful decision, but we think it was the right one. So we will reschedule this. We're meeting in a couple of weeks to discuss when we're going to do this. We have idea in mind, and then we will come back out to you again when we have the new date settled. So upcoming workshops. We have a workshop. We just set the date this morning for Chalmers University. There's going to be an IMS workshop there on the 18th and 19th of November. And what IMS will do in support of this workshop is just go and answer questions about how to put a project together, how to make your submission to IMS, and then we can also be approached if we could find certain types of partners. So it's not anything where IMS is trying to influence anything that's happening in the commission. We're just there to answer questions. And then we're also there to see if there's other projects that might come out that are bottom-up kind of projects. We had a couple of those come out last year, one with Volvo, if memory serves. And also we would like to show some of our project portfolio that's just starting up. Then we're planning a large project workshop, IMS project workshop sponsored at a location yet to be determined. We're still working on that, and we're still working on the dates. We do know it's going to be a day and a half, and it could be Barcelona, Lisbon, or Nice. They're all under consideration. Looks like Lisbon might be the front runner at this point. And then, so for on the program, we would like to hear from Australia and Canada about their research initiatives and how we can plug into their research initiatives. And then also from the rest of the IMS people. And we'll have project reviews of the ongoing projects. We'll talk about the project's information, and then we will have an awards dinner for those projects that have completed, and we need to recognize those people. So with 40 seconds to spare, I'll just say that the organization is alive and doing very well. We're very active, and so I hope that we answered the question to the person that was talking to Herbert earlier does the Commission still support IMS? And we're happy, and through their support, we're able to be active. So thank you.